In the heart of America, nestled among rolling hills and vast fields, lay the quiet town of Willow Creek. This small town was often passed by travelers who were unaware of its charm and the stories woven into its very fabric. It was a peaceful place, where everyone knew their neighbors, and life moved at a slow, comfortable pace. On any given day, you could stroll through the town square, smell the sweet aroma of baked goods from the local bakery, and hear the laughter of children playing in the park. This tranquility stayed intact until one fateful day when the legendary former heavyweight boxing champion, Mike Tyson, decided to stop here for a bite to eat while visiting some old friends. Mike was known worldwide for his incredible speed, power, and fierce determination inside the boxing ring. But outside of it, he often preferred a more laid-back and unassuming lifestyle, wanting to blend in rather than draw attention to himself. On that sunny afternoon, Mike rolled into town in his sleek black SUV. He wore a modest outfit, simple jeans, a hoodie, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, hoping to go unnoticed as he made his way to a small diner called Janet's Place. Mike pulled into a parking spot and turned off the engine, his heart filling with anticipation as he thought about the delicious burger he was about to savor. Unbeknownst to him, however, lurking just outside the diner was a group of rough-looking bikers known as the Iron Wolves. They were gathered around their imposing motorcycles, some adorned with flames and skull decals, while others had gleaming chrome parts that dazzled in the sunlight. The gang, led by a burly man named Griff, was notorious for their unruly behavior. They spent their days intimidating anyone who dared to wander too close to their territory, thriving on the fear they instilled in the townsfolk. As Mike stepped out of his SUV and locked the door, he couldn't help but notice the raucous laughter spilling from the group of bikers. It filled the air, heavy with a sense of animosity and arrogance. Most of the townspeople kept their distance from the gang, a mixture of respect and fear shimmering in their eyes. Inside, they were used to being bossed around and berated, but today, they would witness a confrontation that would change the dynamics of their town forever. Griff, tall and muscular with an unruly beard, was the alpha male of the group. His eyes narrowed as he spotted Mike making his way towards the diner. "Who does this guy think he is?" he sneered, unable to contain the contempt that simmered in his chest. "Coming here with that fancy car and acting all high and mighty." With a disdainful laugh, he gestured to his fellow bikers, who echoed his sentiment with agreement. "Look at him. He thinks he can just stroll into our territory. Let's show him we don't take kindly to outsiders," Griff declared, his voice bubbling with hatred, fueled by a desire to establish dominance. The gang members shifted restlessly, their bodies tense and ready for action. Mike remained blissfully unaware of the brewing trouble. He pushed open the diner door and stepped inside, the cool air washing over him as he inhaled the mouth-watering scents of grilled meat and freshly baked pies. The diner was quaint, with checkered tablecloths, friendly staff, and a vibrant atmosphere. He made his way to a booth by the window and placed his order, smiling at the waitress who recognized him. After a few moments, Mike was sitting in his cozy booth, enjoying the peaceful ambience as he waited for his food. However, outside, the bikers were still seething. Snake, one of Griff's loyal followers, marched into the diner, his swagger echoing a false bravado that masked his insecurity. He approached Mike with malicious intent, a smirk plastered across his face. "Hey, pal," Snake started, leaning against the table with an air of arrogance. "Nice car you've got, but you might want to move it before it gets damaged." There was a biting sarcasm in his tone, and his words dripped with condescension, laying down an implicit threat. Mike paused, his gaze lifting from the menu. He looked into Snake's eyes, unruffled yet alert. "I'm just here to eat. Don't start trouble," Mike replied, his voice calm but firm. There was an undercurrent of power in his words, a silent warning that any man like Snake should heed. But Snake was undeterred. Leaning closer, he made a dismissive gesture. "Who said anything about trouble? I was just making a friendly suggestion." The air grew thick with tension as he continued to harass Mike, trying to draw him into a confrontation. Just then, a young waitress, noticing the escalating tension, stepped in. "Hey, leave him alone. He's not bothering anyone." Her voice rang with authority, an unexpected show of bravery against the gang. The diner's patrons shifted nervously, some muttering under their breath, hoping the conflict would die down. With his patience wearing thin, Snake cursed at the waitress, overriding her plea with a feral sneer. "Mind your business, girl. This is between us." He pushed away from the table, heading back outside where his gang awaited, beckoning them with a wave of his hand. Mike finished his meal, ready to navigate the situation. He stood, leaving what he imagined would be an uneventful meal behind him. Stepping out into the light, he was immediately confronted by the gang, their eyes glinting with fury and mischief. "Look who decided to grace us with his presence." Griff called out from the front of his men, stepping forward, his fists clenched and ready to cause mayhem. "We thought you might stick around. You look like a guy who knows how to have a good time," he taunted, a despicable smile stretching across his face. Mike halted, keeping his cool amidst the brewing storm. "I don't want any problems," he stated, the authority in his voice unmistakable. Yet the group paid no mind, the animosity they harbored turning their laughter into a jeering chorus. "You think you can just come here and act tough? Big mistake. Tough guy," Griff sneered. The surrounding gang members grinned, their excitement tangible, their senses heightened by the potential for violence. With the gang slowly closing in, Mike could feel his pulse quickening, not with fear, but with the instinct of a fighter who had faced countless opponents before. "Just let me go, and we can forget this ever happened," he repeated, hoping to avoid a physical confrontation. But Griff, flanked by his gang, stepped even closer, shoving his finger into Mike's chest with reckless abandon. "You're going to regret coming here," he growled, venom in every word as he turned to rally his crew. "Show him what happens when you mess with the Iron Wolves." Mike could no longer back down. The simmers of tension began to boil. As the gang members moved in, Mike's resolve hardened. "You really don't want to do this," he warned again, his voice now grave. The bikers, fueled by their numbers, erupted into a frenzy of laughter and aggression. They charged at Mike, eyes blazing with a savage intertwining of malice and exhilaration, believing that they could easily overpower him. What happened next would become the stuff of legends, both for the town and Mike Tyson. As the gang members surged forward to swarm him, Mike became an avalanche of motion. In a blur, he ducked under a wild swing, his reflexes honed by years in the boxing ring. He struck back, his fist connecting squarely with the jaw of the nearest biker. The sound of flesh hitting flesh reverberated through the parking lot, echoing in disbelief as the gang member crumpled to the ground like a sack of potatoes. The remaining bikers momentarily froze, astonished by Mike's sheer speed and power. Before they could react, Mike pivoted, delivering a devastating left hook to another gang member's midsection, sending him sprawling. It was a whirlwind of chaos as punches flew and adrenaline surged. The air suddenly filled with cries of pain and shouts of confusion. The store windows rattled as Mike unleashed a relentless barrage of blows. He was a force of nature, a predator in his element, a harbinger of destruction that these gang members had foolishly invited upon themselves. Seeing their comrades fall, Griff roared with rage, struggling to hold on to his sense of leadership while chaos unfolded around him. He shouted to his gang to regroup, but the atmosphere was electric. Their confidence shattered, uncertainty creeping into their ranks. "Let's take him down," Griff rallied, clutching a heavy chain from behind his back. The men, some still nursing injuries, began to scramble, but it was evident that Mike had woven fear into their hearts. With a vicious grin, Griff swung the chain with brutal intent, the metallic links gleaming under the sunlight. "We'll teach you respect," he bellowed, advancing toward Mike with malice. In response, Mike simply stepped forward, the muscles in his arms tightening as he prepared to defend himself. As Griff lunged, Mike ducked to the side, effortlessly slipping past the swing of the chain. In an instant, he seized Griff's wrist, twisting it and sending the chain crashing to the ground. Griff stumbled, shock playing across his features as Mike's power became readily apparent. "You're not ready for this fight," Mike said, the mix of danger and calmness in his tone evident even as he moved with precision. Before he had a chance to regain his composure, Mike had Griff pinned against the rough surface of the diner. The entire event unfolded in mere moments, yet it felt like an eternity to those watching in awe. They stood at the windows, gripping their coffee cups, a blend of fear and admiration swirling within them. Griff, realizing that the tide had truly turned, managed to reach for the switchblade tucked into his pocket. In desperation, he flicked it open, the blade catching glints of sunlight, sharp and menacing. "Let's see how tough you are now," he howled, lunging at Mike with renewed vigor. In one deft movement, Mike sidestepped the attack again, his eyes flashing with a predatory intensity. He grabbed Griff's arm before the knife could find its mark and twisted it until the switchblade fell to the ground, the clatter echoing ominously. Pressing Griff down, Mike's strong knee pressed firmly into the chaos-hardened chest of the would-be leader. "This ends now," he declared, his voice low and unyielding, filled with authority and a righteousness that sent shockwaves through any remaining gang members. As the dust settled around them, the struggle that both men had found themselves in was not one of mere physical clashes. It was a confrontation of wills, convictions, and the importance of standing unfaltering against brutality. With a defeated Griff pinned to the ground and his gang scattered, like leaves in the wind, the atmosphere shifted abruptly. The remaining Iron Wolves, once so boisterous and overconfident, now faced an overwhelming reality. Their reign of fear had crumbled at the hands of a heavyweight champion. When the sirens of the police cruisers finally pierced the air, they did so like a cry of relief of the townsfolk watching from the diner's window. The local sheriff arrived, stepping out of his vehicle with an authority that demanded respect. He knew well about the Iron Wolves and their trouble with the law. As the sheriff surveyed the scene of chaos, the battered bikers, the slightly bruised yet composed champion, and the shocked townsfolk, he caught Mike's eye. The two men shared a knowing nod of mutual respect. Both had faced battles in their own right, though their paths were vastly different. With the gang members now subdued, the sheriff ordered his deputies to take the wounded but still angry bikers into custody. "Looks like it was a rough day at the office for these knuckleheads," he said, chuckling softly as he approached Mike. "Thanks for taking care of things." Mike shrugged, a grin breaking through his serious demeanor. "Just teaching them a lesson about respect," he replied, light-hearted yet grounded. As the bikers were led away, handcuffed and protesting, the townspeople began to emerge from their sheltered corners. As Mike climbed back into his SUV, a wave of support surged from the spectators. They applauded and cheered, their faces filled with gratitude and relief. The tale of the Iron Wolves would be a story to remember, a tale of a man who didn't shy away from protecting the innocent. As he maneuvered out of the parking lot, Mike soaked in the cheers, the admiration from those he had unknowingly defended. He felt their respect, a genuine warmth that resonated in his chest. As he waved goodbye, his presence forever imprinted in their hearts. The night sank deeper, stars peppering the sky as Mike Tyson drove away from Willow Creek. The adrenaline from the encounter slowly ebbed, leaving behind a sense of fulfillment. The memories of today began to replay in his mind, mirroring the challenges and victories of his illustrious career. Driving down the winding highways, Mike couldn't help but contemplate what had transpired. He knew victories didn't always come from the rings or titles. Sometimes, they lived in the quiet resolve to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. It reminded him that strength must also be coupled with courage, humility, and the constant choice to stand for what is right. The rhythmic sound of tires against the asphalt became a soothing backdrop while he reflected on his own journey. From his childhood struggles to becoming a legend and now the unexpected role of a protector, Mike realized that every chapter contributed to forming who he was. A fighter not just in the ring, but one who would stand against injustices, regardless of the form they took. As he continued driving into the night, Mike's thoughts drifted to the people he had fought for, both in the ring and in times fraught with chaos. He pondered how a single act of bravery could resonate within a community, forever changing their sense of safety and hope. The road loomed ahead, endless and inviting. With newfound purpose, Mike understood this wouldn't be the last time he fought for something greater than himself. Willow Creek was just one stop on a far richer journey, one where the tides of challenges would always present themselves. With a quiet smile, he directed his car towards the horizon, ready for whatever lay ahead. A future filled with the promise of more stories, more struggles, and more chances to create a lasting impact in this world. The spirit of a champion was alive and well, weaving its tale into the fabric of towns, people, and experiences, forever echoing through the annals of time. And so, the legend of Mike Tyson continued to grow, a protector, a fighter, and a titan amongst men, destined to encounter more adventures that would remind him of the important truths discovered on his distinct journey towards not only greatness but justice as well. His story, unfolding against the backdrop of America's heartland, would remain in the hearts of those fortunate enough to witness the spectacle, a day when a boxing champion taught an entire gang a lesson they would never forget. And to those watching, they knew this wasn't just about the legendary fighter. It was a celebration of community, courage, and the true essence of standing tall against adversity. As the headlights of his SUV faded into the distance, the cheers from Willow Creek echoed for a long time, transforming the substantial weight of history and heroism into a sharing of hope. Mike Tyson may have been just passing through, but his shadow would linger, casting a protective embrace over a town that now understood the strength that resided within one person willing to stand for what was right. And with that realization, they too felt a newfound pride in themselves, ready to face any storm that dared come their way.